But first, I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Amanda Lamont to discuss our episode theme, Climate Change, Risk and Resilience. Amanda, welcome to the show. So, climate change is obviously one of the greatest international talking points out there. How does it specifically relate to your sector?
Climate change is a really big priority for the emergency management sector at the moment. Our key priority is to reduce harm and suffering and save lives, and climate change has the potential to have a really big impact on the way people are living their lives and their safety in an emergency.
How have we already seen climate impacting the way that fire and emergency services are administered?
Just in the last year, we have seen many records breaking. We have seen hottest months, massive heat waves, monsoonal flood events. We've seen bushfires in rainforests in Queensland, extreme heat waves. And this is having a really big impact on the way emergency services are set up to respond. It requires increased resourcing and attention. We're experiencing longer seasons, so emergency services are required to be on standby for a longer period of time. Often these emergencies are overlapping and cascading, and so emergency services might be responding to one emergency and then they're required to step up again and respond to another. So for example, in an extreme heat wave, we're experiencing drought conditions, and if we then experience severe rainfall, we're seeing extreme flooding events, and these have impacts on communities, and so emergency services are responding to flooding events. And with those increased rainfalls, we're also seeing the fuel in the forests and the bush increase with that rain, and that increases the fuel load, and then we're seeing increased bushfires. So emergency services are on the back of responding to flooding events, and then required to step up again and respond to bushfires.
Talk us through the specific challenges for Australia and New Zealand and how that impacts on future workforces in practice.
So everybody knows that bushfires are a really big threat in Australia, and this is something that people from overseas recognise as well. So New Zealand experiences earthquakes and tsunamis, and Australia is really known for its drought and its heat waves and its bushfires. So with climate change, we know that that is impacting on the frequency and the severity of the weather-related emergencies that we are responding to. So what we're experiencing is the need to respond to those emergencies back to back for a longer period of time.
What other risks are top of mind for the emergency services sector right now?
So right now, we know that science is telling us that the impacts of climate change on emergencies are significant. We're seeing more severe heat waves. We're seeing more extreme floods and storms. We're seeing bushfires that are happening out of season. So, for example, last year we saw bushfires occurring in New South Wales when there was still snow on the ground. So we're having longer bushfire seasons. Emergency services are required to respond to these events for a longer period of time. So they are actually on call for a longer time, and these events are lasting for a longer period. So the impact on emergency services, both career and volunteers, is that they are on call for a longer period of time for events that last for a longer time, and that's at the same time as that it's impacting the communities that they are there to serve.
And how does community resilience help to address those risks presented by climate change and also the other challenges that we all face?
So with this more frequent and severe weather events as a result of climate change, the stretch on emergency management resources is increasing. And so what we're doing is we're asking communities to stand alongside us and help us and support us. And so we're asking communities to build their awareness and knowledge of the risks that they face and what their specific vulnerabilities are. So we rely on infrastructure and power and technology, and if those are impacted, that actually increases people's ability to look after themselves. So by understanding their risks, understanding the impacts and consequences if a disaster impacts them, and actually taking steps themselves to look after themselves and their families and their neighbours. So we're really in this together and working together.
Amanda, great to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.